Peace, peace. How's everybody doing? Giving honor to the Creator of heaven and earth. My name is Yeshaya Israel. This is not going to be a long video or stance. Just wanted to address something, brothers and sisters, and that is this. Everyone has their gifts. Everyone has their talents. I became into the YouTube thing in 2014. And as time went on, the videos have increased from being less than 15 minutes to being some of them over 3 hours. And in saying all of that, brothers and sisters, I wanted to point out and I wanted to express YouTube is excellent for watching movies, watching documentaries, watching presentations. Nonetheless, just say us as black people. When we start talking about, like some people were talking about Edward W. Blyden, some people talk about Dr. Clark, some people talk about Rudolph Windsor, some people talk about Ivan Sertima, some people talk about Francis Quest Welsing and so forth and so on. I mention these people because they who are among us, whom I mention, may they continue to be blessed. And they who are resting in peace, may they continue to rest in peace. Nonetheless, I mention these people because they started off becoming known to the world, if we will, by documentations, by presentations. And this, of course, being long before YouTube existed. So while we use YouTube and while we watch these VHS videos converted over to YouTube of these people whom we have respect and admiration for, old school will always be the best school. So while not knocking YouTube, these people's books were known before YouTube existed. For instance, I was given a copy of They Came Before Columbus, which was written by Ivan Sertima. If I remember right, he wrote that book back in the 1970s or something of that sort. I got the book from Babylon and Timbuktu, which the version I had was written back in the 1980s. YouTube did not exist in those days, brothers and sisters. So my point in all of that is, being, say, in New York, if you go down where 6th Avenue was or where Fulton Street was, say, even in Brooklyn, you used to see people with their book stands and everything like that back in the 1990s. The issue is not so much YouTube as much as it is how much reliance people have given upon it, to where scholarship is not respected or even cherished as much. Where being able to sit there and getting into a respectful debate live, eye to eye, human to human. I would say man to man, but sometimes you have it to where women would debate in a college professional setting another woman, or a man and a woman, or so forth and so on. So what I've noticed is they, in general, who may not even make YouTube videos or do presentations online via YouTube or anything like that, sometimes they rely so much upon it to where going out and getting a book doesn't matter. Going out and reading an ebook does not matter. And like stated, yes, I do have a YouTube channel, but to just use that as your source, when they who are on YouTube and who are authors know that not everyone relies upon YouTube. Now, unless it's a speech class, in many cases, say in college or in other cases, When you do a paper for a college class or something of that sort, you have to cite a bibliography. And correct me if I'm wrong, your bibliography would not mainly and, if at all, include http / www dot. That could not be your source and or main source of situations in that particular case. That cannot be. That is not how, brothers and sisters, scholastic matters is done. So this is not saying that everyone needs to or desires to be a writer, but I will say that there are stages to this, as the saying goes. And in these stages, relying solely on YouTube, where a person's academic matter does not matter, where you don't have to cite a bibliography, where you don't have to cite your sources, where it is part of, quote, free information in many cases, unless the person is getting it monetized or they got a super chat or so forth and so on. You understand? Whereas when you get into, say, like the people I mentioned earlier, your bibliography had to be on point. Your information had to be on point, and it was much more scrutinized. You had more of a peer review even once it comes down to that. Whereas the matter of anybody being able to just go online on YouTube, for instance, and just say this or that, and everyone's like, oh, okay, nodding heads and clicking like and sharing the link and blah, blah, blah. It sets a different tone when a person has to use Zelle, Cash App, or other means, or a bank statement, when you got to go and pick up a book, carry the book, have it mailed to you, and you opening it, be it signed to you or not, getting your highlighter, checking that person's references if it's your desire or so forth. See, with YouTube, you don't have to do all of that. All you can do is just talk and upload and go about your way. You understand? But when you become in that aspect of writing a book, just using that as an example, and that's why I mentioned these authors earlier in this speech here, you have to get it copywritten. That costs money. You have to cite your sources, which means that you would have to, in many cases, have bought the books that you're using for citation. Even if it's an ebook, in many cases, you have to pay to get an ebook in many cases, unless it's just a free one. But even just taking a free ebook matter, right, brothers and sisters, it still requires you to use the strength of your eyes to read it. It still requires you to be awake. It still requires you to put some kind of work in once it comes down to that. So again, while a brother is not trying to come off as a hypocrite, having used YouTube as a way to get some of the information out, I use YouTube personally recently to speak upon a history or a Hebrew lesson, but ultimately too to promote the books that a brother wrote and so forth and so on. So with that, peace to you all. Get your studying up, get your citations up, get your book out. Peace.